I'm radio and television host Jimmy Church, and I am here to uncover the truth about some of life's biggest mysteries. If this is revealed, everything has to be rewritten. My guest today is Mike Herrera, a former Marine and a courageous whistleblower, shedding light on persistent covert programs and the possession of back-engineered extraterrestrial technologies.
There are people in the government who know about this who are pretending that they don't.
As always, MUFON field investigator Josh. Josh, can you pull up the map?
Yeah.
Joins us to help set the scene. Join us as we dive deep to get to the bottom of some of the most intriguing questions of our time.
Is it a risk for me talking about this? 100% it is. But the problem is if nobody does, then how does it get out?
Welcome to Into the Vortex. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, and today my guest is UFO whistleblower Mike Herrera. And what's intriguing about Mike and what we're going to be discussing today is whistleblower protection and the ability now that we know a whistleblower can come forward and be protected and not worry, hopefully, about his career, his family, or personal effects and protection. And Josh, when we talk about whistleblowers and specifically UFO whistleblowers, now we're getting into black projects and intelligence agencies and the military and very deep, possibly very dark areas. Are you ready for this? It's going to be one of those conversations.
This is super serious material, but I'm overly excited, but I'm trying to temper it to keep it serious. So yeah, I'm really excited for this conversation.
Mike, let's start here. First off, thank you for coming forward.
Well, thank you for allowing me to be here.
The first thought that everybody thinks about is well, you have the fantastical part of it, right? The unbelievable part. But then the intimidation part, you have the government cover-up part, and there are probably two different factions when it comes to this that want this information to come out, and those that don't. And those that don't will do anything to protect these secrets. Have you felt that kind of pressure, and does it occur?
So I do know for a fact that it does. And as far as the cover-up aspect of it, there are people in the government who know about this who are pretending that they don't. The other aspect of it too is maybe because they're afraid to speak out because of retaliation from these agencies or these organizations that have access to this stuff on a regular basis. If these guys have a monetary system where they're in their own self, where they can generate their own funds, have their own military, so to speak, have their own Navy, Air Force, if you will, and they have access to technologies that are more cutting edge than what our current military has, and our most sophisticated planes like the F-35, F-22, and B-2, and what they have is multiples of what that would be.
Now, to be clear,
yes,
we're talking about extraterrestrial intelligence, crash retrievals, contact with ET. Let's not beat around the bush here. We're not talking about adversarial technology, some kind of foreign technology department, and we're looking into that. We're talking about off-world craft and extraterrestrial civilizations.
Correct.
As you started to get into this, did you have a knowledge of ET, or did you have a contact experience, or was this something completely new to you?
So in 2009, when I had my event that I witnessed, I was against it. I didn't believe in any of that kind of stuff. And seeing that craft there in Indonesia in 2009, the kind of technology, I mean, I was very well versed in modern day aircraft. I can tell what weapon systems they have on it, things like that. I wanted to be a pilot, especially a fighter pilot. So seeing something like that and understanding what its nature was, something that didn't make a sound when it flew, when I saw it bank over the horizon, something that could just hover there as massive as it is, seemed like it's weightless. And it just emitted a transformer type noise. It confirmed two things for me. One, that we have this kind of technology, and I mean humans have access to this. And it also confirms that they got it from some place that is not of Earth, but off-world.
Now, I have an image here, Josh.
Yes, sir.
I have an image here that Josh is going to pull up that depicts what you witnessed
Yes.
in Indonesia. And this will help people understand it's the theater of the mind, right? We
Yes.
can talk about it, but we also have a visual here. So describe what we're looking at here. Does that accurately show the craft?
Yes, it does. And that craft was about 300 feet in diameter. It was pretty massive.
Wow.
The scale of the vehicles underneath on that landing platform are very close to what the distance would be. When we came down that slope, we were intercepted by a team of operators, Deep Black, that were American. They spoke English very well. Their dialects were the same as you and I talking. They had the same kind of gear that we did, but a little bit more high speed, American weapon systems, American IR lasers, things like that. So knowing at that time, we had been briefed that there may have been other, special operations groups out there trying to handle business of their own. But all of a sudden having them point their weapons at us and taking our weapons from us and complying with their measures, to simply put it, to not be killed, and then seeing this craft in the background and seeing how they were moving, putting these trucks with these containers onto that craft, and then watching that craft leave so fast and how
Now,
smooth
what
it
would
was.
that indicate to you at that point, us or them? And it's suggesting that it may look ET, but it may be us and our construction. Is that what you're thinking at the time?
Yes, because there wouldn't be a human element
Right.
if it was ET.
So what went through your mind? What were you thinking?
Well, honestly, I, to a degree, thought we were going to be killed because this is something that you don't stumble onto.
Right.
Not just anybody stumbles onto this. I mean, especially humanitarian missions. We were armed and we had M16A4s. But at that time, I thought, yeah, we could have been killed the way they were talking to us. And that's what I thought.
So you're saying that that craft was landing and taking off from, ascending and descending from an existing platform in the jungle.
No, that platform was a part of that craft. That's the difference. So imagine this, one solid piece, because this went up into the craft, right? It was completely, when this thing went up, it was level on the bottom of the craft. Like it went into it. And this craft, the top part raised down, this one raised up, met it in the middle, and then it proceeded to raise up past the tree line and left to clear that, and then it went over the tree line towards the ocean, several thousand miles an hour without breaking a sound barrier, without disturbing any of the trees, any of the coconuts, any of the vegetation, nothing. No rotor washer exhaust, no.
So that would be like a tractor trailer.
Yeah.
The craft is the tractor and the foundation would be the trailer. And it's some kind of container or compartment that is being transported by the craft.
Yes.
Very, very interesting. That's something that you would never expect to see.
No, and they've had aircraft that kind of did the same thing, like big transport planes at the bottom would come off like that.
Right.
So I'm wondering if they put, in reference of that aircraft and put it more high tech, and now they have something that they can deploy, get stuff on there, move it out real quick. It's like a bug out operation, if you will.
Quickly, who makes up these black teams? I mean, I want to know.
So I think everybody should know. But during 1947, they had the National Security Act that was established and was signed by the president at that time. That's when this black team organization had been birthed, so to speak, right? So you have this organization that more than likely at that time was handling the crash retrievals in a militaristic sense. People that are different parts of the government or even military branches that are more refined, that are able to handle this kind of nature. And they're doing things that the conventional government does not have access to or knowledge because they want to keep it very segmented, all right? Now, during the 90s, when you had Clinton administration came into power, they got wind of the black team's existence because they wanted to know if ETs were real, they wanted to know craft were real. So when they heard about the existence of this black team, they then established what was called a red team. This red team is a group that infiltrates the black team. And their goal is to specify what the black team is doing and report it to blue team, which blue team is the government. So that, in theory, on paper, works really well. But the problem is you have a lot of changes through political people, right? Their terms end, they no longer work in government, whatever it might be. People pass on for old age. You have the impeachment that happened with Clinton, so now it starts to get diluted. And less people start knowing about this. So essentially what happens is red team and black team are now merged as one. They have different factions within those, or like different groups in the black team where they're doing their own things, unregulated, of course, no oversight from the president or Congress or and anybody for that matter. But you have the good guys in the organization that are wanting to come out and talk about that. So as this sits to this day, there's only one big black team and there's a blue team. And that's kind of what is transpiring. You have the blue team, which is trying to figure out what black team is still doing. But within black team, you have a war going on with itself, with these good and bad guys.
Now, we hear a lot about special access programs. There's a lot of talk about that right now. And I think that the term is used too freely and too loosely. This would indicate to me a special access program at a level that most of us wouldn't understand. What's your definition of a special access program?
Just how we would use it. I mean, a special access meaning that only certain type of people that hold certain clearances or read into it are going to have access to that. John Q. Public will not, because he has no business being inside of a program, because he's not with the organizations, let alone doing the work, whatever it might be. You know, it's the same thing, and the way that it works is, let's say if you're working on the propulsion system on a craft, like an airplane, for example, and it's classified, I'm working on the weapon system. You're not gonna know what I'm working on, just like I'm not gonna know what you're working on. They keep it very compartmentalized for a reason.
Okay. What about the funding of this? And if you are going to fund it and you're dealing with the backwards engineering of some off-world technology, who determines what corporation is working on said tech and who determines how it gets funded?
What I understand, and this is what I've been told from some of these guys in this organization, is that they embezzle funds out of the black budget of the government.